Thank you very much. I really do appreciate inviting me to this very forum to speak. His Excellencies, His Eminencies, and distinguished ambassadors, diplomats, honorables, representatives of countries and organizations, the press, and all personalities in the House watching through the internet. When a lion is in a cage, it can only roar in the confinements of its cage, indicating its strength, but will not be able to do anything. That seemed the state of Africa for many centuries. Africa, with its finest leadership, could only end up with great orators and eloquent oratory that indicates that talk is cheap. For many centuries, Africa was producing leadership with teething problems, like barking dogs that does not bite. Africa, with its great abundance of mineral resources and abundance of mineral wealth, remain the poorest nations of the world. With their leadership, who were complicit with its colonial and apartheid master, remained only talkative with little action, while the colonial masters continued sapping and taking away the God-given rich mineral resources in Africa and kept dividing the African people and creating chaos amongst them in disguise of peacekeeping. Now it appears the lion is out of the cage and the sleeping giant has woken up. African nations led by the Gen Z or the new generation of African youths are bringing actions to the doorsteps of their eloquent oratory, outdated African leaders. A revolution of governance, a revolution of technology, a revolution of economy, and a total transformation of how things are done or ought to be done. They are asking these great grandfathers who has no succession plans and don't believe in succession plans and have remained in the seat of governance for decades to go home, as they have run out of ideas. And Africa cannot continue with the compromising and complicit puppet governance. The revolution is spreading like wildfire in different forms and in many African countries, from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Madagascar, and others, asking the colonial and newer colonial masters to leave and telling them to hands off our wealth, that enough is enough. We must use our resources to build our countries, and they are not just saying it, they are implementing actions. This is the spirit that has caught Africa, the spirit of awoken giant and the spirit of emphaticness. That is what the African Diaspora Union, AfriDo, is riding on. Action-oriented, not TikTok. The issue of right of return of the African descendants who were victims of transatlantic slave trade have met with much talk without action, all the time complaining and narrating what the Europeans and all the slave masters did to them without providing solutions. Until the Ghana government declared 2019 as the year of the return of the African diaspora. The Republic of Benin and the Burkina Faso are following suit, but the implementations are hastily done without economic and other securities, which many of the Africans in diaspora who returned in excitement but face economic hardship as a result of unguaranteed economic and political security returned back to United States and the Caribbean where they came from. The African Diaspora Union, AFRIDU, who have observed all these and as a pilot project for Africa, have presented to the Nigerian Senate the African Descendant Citizenship Bill to be passed into law. This bill is not to grant the African diaspora citizenship by abode or by naturalization, but to restore the citizenship to any African descendant whose ancestor was a victim of transatlantic slave trade, as the citizenship was neither forfeited nor relinquished. This citizenship restoration comes with economic and social securities like housing loan, etc. This bill has already passed through some stages and receiving wide and popular publicity in the Nigerian and international media space. African Diaspora Union has entered into discussion with the Vatican through the Embassy of the Holy See and the Apostolic Nuncio in South Africa to sponsor a global genetically centric DNA test of the African descendants of the victim of transatlantic slave trade as their contribution to reparative justice, to serve as the church commitment to healing and practical means for individuals to reconnect with their ancestral roots in Africa. African Diaspora Union advised His Holiness Pope Leo XIV through an official letter that the Vatican can create a Catholic Reparative Justice Commission to implement and supervise the ancestral DNA test. African Diaspora Union, AFRIDU, has also published a book called The African 12 Apostles, aka Liberators, a book aimed at deconstructing the negative narratives that African leaders are violent and rebels, creating a new narrative for Africa. They are men that lay down their lives for the peace of Africa, men who sacrificed and committed their lives to the empowerment and dignity of the African man, men who fought for the African freedom and enslavement, men who gave liberty to the bonded in Africa. Some of them assassinated, some died as martyrs of liberation of Africa. Without them, there will not be African independence, freedom, and human rights. If you do not know where you come from, you cannot know where you are going. Please go and purchase the book African 12 Apostles on Amazon and other links so you understand some of the African struggles and those that played the principal roles of liberation. These and a few other things the African Diaspora Union have committed itself emphatically, devoid of much talk. My advice to the other Pan-African organizations is stop talking and start doing. Stop complaining and bring solution and action. Thank you.